Hello students, welcome again to this new class of strategic management, this fourth class. During this fourth class we are going to speak about strategic capabilities of companies, and in this relevant video we are going to speak about competitors and markets. First of all, I would like to thank you about your participation in both quizzes and discussions on previous classes, and I would like to thank you as well your as a submission of the idea competition, both the written submission and the video through Flipgrid. I'm really happy with the result. You have done a very good job, and you are going to receive feedback during these days. Thank you very much. During this video, we're going to speak about competitors and markets. If you remember from the previous class, we were speaking about environment of companies, which is at the end what defines the company and the environment, both microenvironment and microenvironment. If you remember, macroenvironment, all the stuff that surround a company in the macro level. We have the PESEL tool to analyze the macroenvironment of companies, and within the concrete sector or the concrete industry of the company, the microenvironment, we have the tool called the Porter's 5-force model analysis to analyze the industry or sector. Okay, and we are going to finish the environment of a company with this last level, the competitors. Competitors and market at the most immediate level surrounding a company. So it's the most immediate level, maybe it's the most important one. Okay, and when we speak about competitors and markets, we have to take in account that within most industries or sectors there will be many different organizations with a lot of different characteristics. Okay, that could mean a lot of opportunities or threats as well. Opportunities in the means that you can imitate what other companies are doing great. Okay, if it's not protected by intellectual property or something, and you have to avoid what other companies are doing wrong. During this video, we're going to speak both of strategic groups and market segments. Here you can find a definition. Strategic groups are companies within an industry or sector with similar strategic characteristics, following similar strategies, or competing on similar basis. As we were speaking, nowadays, unless we find a monopoly or oligopoly, which is quite rare in all companies, in all industries or sectors, we are going to find competition. We are going to find a lot of different companies with different characteristics and competing on different bases. And the concept of strategic groups is going to help to identify the close and the remote competitors. As you can see here through a strategic group map, you can see a strategic group map of the industry, the automobile industry. Okay, and this strategic group map is going to help to identify which are your direct competitors and the opportunities and threats of such competitors. Here you can find some characteristics for identifying strategic groups. When we are speaking about strategic groups, we have to focus on, for example, the scope of activities and the resources commitment. When we speak about the scope of activities, we have to focus on the extent of product or service, the diversity, the extent of geographical coverage, the number of market segments, and the distribution channels used. And when we speak about the resources, we have to focus on the extent of branding, the marketing effort, the extent of vertical integration, the product or service quality, the technological leadership, or the size of organization. Of course, these are the most typical characteristics for identifying strategic groups, but the unique. It is going to depend on the concrete sector or industry we are speaking, and the characteristics will going to differ. Mapping of strategic groups can provide insights into competitive structures or industries and opportunities and constraints for development. For example, you can find here a strategic group map of the textile industry. You can find two metrics, price and quality, and more or less where are the main brands located. You can find Zara, H&M, Gap, and depending on the quality and price, they are going to compete directly with other brands. The strategic group concept is useful in at least three ways. First of all, it's useful to understanding competition. Second, is useful to analyze of strategic opportunities. And third, is useful to analyze mobility barriers. Of course, the concept of strategic group is focused not in the competition within a whole industry or sector, which can be huge. It's focused on the competition within a concrete group, in a concrete part of such mapping. For example, luxury restaurants. Think in a luxury restaurant in your city. Despite the fact that they are within the same industry that McDonald's or Burger King, they both are not going to compete, okay, because they are in a very different places into the strategic groups map. So luxury restaurants do not compete with fast food chains, although they both belong to the same sector. We are going to speak a little bit about those three ways in which the concept of strategic groups could be useful. First of all, we have that the concept of a strategic group could be useful to understanding competition. Let's think, for example, that managers can focus on their direct competitors within their particular strategic group rather than the whole industry. As well, managers can also establish the characteristics that distinguish the most from other groups and could promote those characteristics, those differentiations for the future. Another way in which the concept of a strategic group could be useful is analysis of strategic opportunities. When we see a strategic group map like this in the car industry, we can see which parts of the map are empty, and therefore we can find strategic gaps, which we can define as an opportunity in the competitive environment that is not being fully exploited by competitors. I'm going to explain this with more detail. Well, by doing a strategic group map, for example, we can see that a lot of brands, automobile brands, were investing in other types of vehicles, but not in sport utility vehicles. And as you can see in this slide, the share of SUVs in total car sales in the key markets has been risen from the last 10 or 15 years. And one of the companies which saw that the SUV markets were going to increase was Nissan. And Nissan increased their sales in the last years due to its investment in SUV automobiles. And finally, we are going to speak about the last way in which the concept of a strategic group could be useful. This is for analysis of mobility barriers. Okay, here we can see again the strategic group map of automobile industry. For example, you can see that Porsche and Ferrari in the corner is in the different part of the strategic group map than Ford, for example. Of course, Ford cannot move across the map to take advantage of the Porsche and Ferrari industry just at its own will. It has a lot of cost to move across the map is not costless, okay? And it's going to require difficult decisions and a lot of money. Strategic groups and strategic group mapping are characterized by mobility barriers. Therefore, there are obstacles of movement from one strategic group to another. It's more or less the same barriers to entry in that we spoke about in the Porter's 5 forces analysis model. Once we have spoken about the strategic groups and the strategic groups mapping, we are going to speak about the market segmentation. In the marketplace, customers' expectations are not the same. Customers have different requirements, and in order to differentiate such expectations, such requirements of customers, we use the market segmentation. Here we can find, for example, in this image, 4 different factors that are very often used in the market segmentation. For example, they are going to divide customers depending on the demographic segmentation, or geographic segmentation, or behavioral segmentation, or psychographic segmentation. Of course, the basis to perform an accurate market segmentations are going to depend on the concrete industry or sector, are not always the same. Here you can find just a general basis of market segmentations, for example, depending on the characteristics of people or organizations, age, sex, race, income, family size, etc. Depending on the industrial organization markets, the industry location, size. Depending on the purchase user situation, size of purchase, brand loyalty is not the same to a client who arrived 2 months ago, who a client who's been with us the last 10 years, for example, or basis of the market segmentation depending on the user's needs and preference for product characteristics, the product similarity, price preference, etc. And why do we use market segmentation? Why is market segmentation used in strategic management? Well, here you can find just 4 examples of the key benefits of market segmentations. It helps to determine market opportunities depending on which are our main clients. We can see which market segmentation is empty and which market segmentation we can focus on. Another key benefit is a tailor-made marketing initiatives. Market segmentation is really important in the marketing world. Another key benefit is to product development and design. Is not the same to design by the general public to design for a concrete and accurate field of people. And last of all, another key benefit of market segmentation is determine the product pricing. It's not the same to focus on students and focus on very wealthy people, for example. We are going to see a small and interesting video of the McDonald's market segmentation strategy. In this specific video, the market segmentation strategy is used for marketing purposes, but all the surveys, all the information that McDonald's have of their customers are not useful just for marketing purposes. They are useful as well to determine market opportunities, to the product development and design, and to determine product pricing. We are going to see the video.
In order to make their products relevant to a variety of consumers, companies use target marketing. Marketers identify specific segments of the population and position their products to appeal specifically to that segment. At McDonald's, segmenting is central to their marketing strategy. But the burger giant takes a different approach to segmenting than most companies.
Traditional consumer packaged goods companies, such as Frito-Lay, organize their marketing department by brand. And so you will have a brand manager on Doritos or a brand manager on Lay's, et cetera, et cetera. At McDonald's, instead of having a brand manager on Big Mac and a brand manager on French fries, what we have are segment managers. And so at McDonald's, you will find a director of young adults, a director of women, moms, a director of African American consumers, a director of Hispanic consumers, etc. So that structure all by itself puts McDonald's in a position to really maximize targeting marketing efforts.
In order to target markets accurately, McDonald's uses segment insights. Insights are information about consumer behavior that are developed through market research.
We're constantly, every day, all week long, collecting information and data about the different segments that each of our marketing people are responsible, are responsible for understanding. And what we pull from these segments are insights, pieces of information that help us understand how to describe our products in a way that will be most compelling for the particular segment.
Consumer insights focus on the values, needs, and lifestyle of each segment. Using these insights, each segment team creates a positioning profile for every product. Then their creative team uses these profiles to produce ads targeted to relevant segments, as well as to the general population.
In the case of our Southwest chicken salad, we learned from our consumer intelligence that this salad presented such a cool variety of ingredients that the general market would find that compelling. So if you look at our ads that were targeted to the general market, you'll see the emphasis on the variety of fun things in the Southwest chicken salad.
Hi, can I get a Southwest salad with crispy chicken?
And I want that new thing with the grilled chicken and tortilla strips. You know, it has that real creamy dressing. Oh, and I think some lettuce.
On the other hand, if you look at the African American consumer advertising, we learned from marketing intelligence that the African American consumer is less inclined to consider a salad as a substitute for almost any of the sandwiches we have at McDonald's. And so instead, we needed to develop our message in a way that said to this segment, this is a hearty, filling, interesting and exciting salad. If you look at our Hispanic consumer segment, the Southwest chicken salad is full of ingredients that resonate with culture and heritage and are compelling ingredients to a Hispanic segment for a whole different reason. The Asian consumers' requirement includes variety of taste and tasting new and different things. And so what we presented in our advertising that was targeted to Chinese and Korean Americans was the whole notion of this variety of ingredients and a new, exciting taste.
Target marketing has proven to be very successful for McDonald's. By understanding the various consumer segments and positioning their products to appeal to each segment, McDonald's has been able to increase overall sales.
At McDonald's, there are a couple hundred people who work full-time just keeping the information current and keeping the information coming so that we can use insights to make certain our marketing is compelling and that our marketing efforts do in fact result in business building marketing.
One of the things to consider when we perform a market segmentation, as we have seen in the McDonald's video, is that customers' needs may change for a whole variety of reasons. In practical terms, it's important to consider which basis of segmentations are most important in any particular market. For example, it's not the same to perform a market segmentation of McDonald's, as we have seen, than a market segmentation in a luxury restaurant of your city, for example. And another thing to consider when performing a market segmentation is that how market segments can be identified is going to depend on the number of trends in the business environment. Okay, so market segments is going to change depending on the trends, and we have to be aware of what are those trends within a concrete market. Here you can find a small example. For example, when we were speaking about the strategic group map of the automobile industry, the car industry, we have a segmentation in high and low price, and depending on the number of models, but we didn't have a market segmentation depending, for example, on those customers that were seeking for electric cars. That's new trend, relatively new trend on the market that Tesla knew how to explode, and here you can find the result. Here is the number of sales of Tesla during the last 10 years that has increased a lot, because they knew that the market segment groups of people seeking electric car were going to increase a lot. So that's a clear example on how market segmentation could be useful. And we are going to finish this first video of the 4th class by speaking about two concepts that are the result of such market segmentation. First of all, we have the strategic customer, which could be defined as the person or persons at whom the strategy is primarily addressed, because they have the most influence over which goods or services are purchased. And then we have the critical success factor, which are those products or features that are particularly valued by a group of customers, and therefore where their organization must excel to outperform competition. For example, you can find here, it's going to depend of every company, of course, but in a general company, we can find here 5 customers to keep and how they contribute to your business strategy. For example, high lifetime clients, high volume clients, inspirational clients, or door opener clients. So depending on the company, we can find different strategic customers, which are the customers in which we have more to focus on, and critical success factors, which are the products or services that our strategic customers more take in account. Thank you very much. We are gonna see you in the next video.